This is a test of the Boundary Park alert system.
Hi, sexy day for the fans only for Boundary Park alert system. I'm here with, what's your name, pal? Sam, what have you thought of the last few results at Latics?
Yeah, I think they could be better, but you just take them on the road, don't you? Should be winning them, but you take them, don't you, for now?
What do you think the solution is?
Buy more strikers. Don't have enough strikers, in my opinion.
Yeah. But with Billy Waters, he's all right. Mike Fondop, but Fondop's knackered, isn't he?
He's knackered. Well, yeah, he's tired in from all these games he's playing. He can't do much, can he? But you just need to wait for Norwood when he's back now.
Yeah. So we've got Barnet today. Are you confident we're going to get something?
I'm not very confident, but you can hope, can't you?
It's typical Latics, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll beat these and then lose to Boston on Tuesday.
But you also said you don't listen to the Boundary Park alert system, but you will listen on Monday now for your interview.
Yeah, I will be listening on Monday night. I will.
Thanks for joining us, mate. Thank you.
Mate, cheers.
Hi, it's Sexy Dave from the podcast, and I'm here with, what's your name?
Marcus.
Marcus, what? You're now on the world famous Boundary Park alert system fans only. What's your last name?
Blizzard.
Right, Marcus. What do you think of the last few results?
It's been shocking, hasn't it? It's been ridiculous.
What do you think the problem is?
No strikers. We've got Fondop, but he's just not that guy.
Yeah, but he's been outstanding in his form, don't you think?
Yeah, but he needs support like any striker, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, yeah. Waters has been okay. He's been in and out. He works hard, but he just needs to finish a little bit more, doesn't he?
Yeah, you tell me the difference between Kurt Willoughby and Billy Waters.
Just the names, I think, mate. Yeah, it's a good point. It's a great point made. Right, we've got Barnet today. What are we saying? What are we going to get? 0
points. I'm optimistic today.
Optimistic?
Yeah.
And we've got Boston on Tuesday. What do you think of that one?
We need a result though. I think we'll get it out of our system today, and then we'll kick on it again.
So not even a hope for a point today, no?
Yeah, if we're lucky. Fondop's do a good game in this, so.
All right, thanks very much, Marcus. Thank you. Hi, I'm just here with Lee for the fans only. Lee, tell us your last name. Now you're going to be world famous on the Boundary Park alert system.
Fletcher.
Right, Lee, tell me about the last few games. What do you think?
We've not been great, I don't think. I think it's self-admitted to himself that the system doesn't really work, and it's been a case of that we've been poor in general.
Do you think the players have been poor? Do you think the setup and the system has been wrong?
I think it's a bit of both, if I'm brutally honest. I think if you look at it from a tactical point of view, I don't think the system works with the players that we've got. But then again, our recruitment hasn't been great, so we obviously need a new striker. We need a couple of wingers, I'd say, as well. So
yeah, we're seriously lacking pace, aren't we? What did you think of Jez going to Eastleigh?
Well, I know a couple of lads at Eastleigh who work in the coaching department, and they said he's been fantastic going there. So I wasn't. It was a strange one because he wasn't doing much for us. So at the end of the day, what do? Do we let him go and get some game time, or do we keep him for the fact of that he'll get some game time here, which has not been apparent? But I think we needed someone like him. He just needs a little bit of support in terms of helping him develop and being a bit more direct and trying to.
There's not a lot of development for young players here, is it? It's pretty much 30 and over, and you're at the end of your career. One more thing, Alex Reid's banging him in at Wealdstone. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, he came back and he played one game. So has he had a chance to come back and prove himself? I don't know, but it seems like that bridge has gone. So it's been burnt, and what do we do from that?
But there's always hope in the playoffs that he could be scoring and he could come back for them games. So
yeah, absolutely, but what does he do? I mean, he's got Norwood, he's got Fondop, he's got Waters, he's got some options to be able to play. But is he the right answer for us? I'm not 100% sure. I think in general he's been a good player, but is he the right option for us?
Right, I'm going to say we're against Barnet, top of the league, flying, 10 goals in the last 3 games. What score is it going to be today?
We said in the car on the way down that we'd take a draw. So whatever that draw is, 1-1, 2-1, 0-0, I'm not sure, but we'll take that draw. 5-5, I'll take 5-5.
All right, mate, thanks very much. Cheers.
Hello and welcome to the Boundary Park Alert System with me, Matt Dean. I'm joined, as usual, by Andy Halliwell in London. How are you, Andy?
Yeah, I've been better. Yourself?
I've been worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Better way to put it, isn't it?
It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. I didn't get a chance to really sort of digest the game yesterday because I went from Boundary Park straight to a gig I was working at. I hosted the Madlaw charity ball last night, which was good fun actually. It didn't really give me a chance to think about the game, which was fine. There were some senior Latics representatives at the event last night, but none of us really wanted to talk in depth about the game. It was one of those things, and I did inform the audience that if they wanted to listen to my views on the game, they should tune into the Boundary Park alert system this morning. So if anyone new from there is here this morning, welcome. But we did have a cancellation, didn't we, on our fan guest Sunday? So we had to rope somebody in who I thought who would be really good, who'd be really reliable, who'll be there at the game and who'll be paying attention, and I came up with the ideal candidate. So we'll just ask you that because you've been on before, fan guest, a couple of times now, I think. What was the last game you went to?
Yesterday, Matt.
Absolutely. You stood next to me. What's the other questions we do, Andy? Favourite recent game?
No. Who's your current favourite player? If you're doing repeat guest.
Yeah.
Before yesterday, I probably would have said Rossiter, but probably Fondop.
Okay. What's the next question?
Favorite recent Latics related memory?
Aye.
Racking my brains now. I don't have one in particular. That's how bad it is.
Tranmere away was mine.
Yeah,
Tranmere away in the cup,
wasn't it? Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Yeah, Leighton Orient was good for me. I didn't get to go to Tranmere, but yeah, Leighton Orient was good.
And give us a little unknown fact about yourself. Have you got another one?
So I don't know if anyone else uses FanHub, but I've been kind of top of the mileage chart on FanHub for the past 3 seasons. Anyone else fancies using that, give me a bit of a challenge, then you're more than welcome.
Is that for Latics fans, is it, or in all fans?
It's for all fans, but divide you up into your club so you can see.
Yeah. So you're the top Latics fan, top travelling Latics fan, are you?
Apparently, according to FanHub.
FanHub.
I'm sure there's people been to as many, if not more, games than I have, but just on FanHub.
Yeah, but not tracking it like you have been. Fair play, mate. Fair play. That's why I thought you'd be an excellent. You were my first choice, first off the bench. Unlike, I got you. You were stripped off. Not only unlike Mark Kitchen yesterday, you actually came on the pitch. You weren't just stripped off and then put back on the bench. But we've come around to that. So, what's your name?
It's Adam Kershaw.
Adam Kershaw, and plenty of fans will know you. Like you said, you were last seen in the program yesterday. Actually, you popped up a couple of times in there. You were also right down the front when the equaliser against Dagenham and Redbridge went in, weren't you? You were front and centre on those camera shots, weren't you?
Yep, hugging Joe Pritchard. Yeah, so
yeah.
So it was a good week on the social media for me, but then yesterday's put a right down on it.
Yeah, we could skirt around it. We could talk about this, that, and the other, but we have to come on to the result yesterday. Andy, did you listen to it? Did you just keep your eye on it, or what?
No, I listened to the commentary. Yeah. It on in the house.
That'll be interesting to get that take on it. But Adam, I stood next to you for the whole 90 minutes, so. You read the game well, Adam. I must say, like you do have a good you have a good interpretation of what's going on. You make good calls that are in terms of what you think is going to happen in terms of substitutions and stuff like that. So I'd be really interested to get your reflections on yesterday, mate.
I don't know if that's such a compliment at the minute, Matt, knowing what Mickey Mellon's going to do now. I think that disqualifies my football knowledge. Just
I don't know, but a lot of us kind of like say what we would like to see happen, but you tend to say, no, this is the conversation goes, I'd like to see this happen, and you say, no, this is what is going to happen, and invariably it's correct.
Yeah, well, yeah, like I said,
yeah,
I think Mickey Mellon's. I don't want to. I use the term tactics very loosely, but I just think it's so easy to tell what he's going to do next. because it's so one-dimensional, and it's got to a point now where the serious questions need to be asked of everyone involved. And I'm past putting blame on players now, because it's not on the players for me. It can talk about character and us not having that kind of that will to win, but what are they doing in training all week, Matt? Because nothing's evidenced on the pitch. There's no improvements from last week at any point throughout the season. So it's questions need to be asked now.
So what about yesterday's game? First half, Barnet weren't in fifth gear at all, were they? And we were able to keep them quiet as a result. We looked quite busy. I thought that the crowd responded quite well to, there was some good tackles going in. There was plenty of effort and energy from the players, but without actually, creating much in the way of chances. But it was, I'd say we edged it, didn't we, in the first half? Is that a fair assessment, Adam?
100%. I think again this week there's been a lot of flack for fans, a lot of statements coming out about fan behaviour, this, that, and the other. But to me, fans are not the problem. Fans are not the problem here. We're not difficult to please. Just a little bit of intensity in that first half, and you saw the crowd get behind the team, and the atmosphere was great first half because they looked like they cared. They looked like they were putting a shift in. Do you know what I mean? No one went into that game yesterday expecting us to beat Barnet, and that's a sad state of affairs to where the club is right now under Mickey Mellon. But application's all we asked for, and for 45 minutes, the application was there. We didn't create a great deal, but we stifled them, and we made them look like a really average team. So I was fairly pleased with how the first half went. So, yeah.
But is that how it came across on the commentary, Andy?
It sounded pretty even and not that inspiring, if I'm honest, because there weren't that many chances, were there? Two teams that kind of cancel each other out a little bit. So it didn't sound particular, but it didn't, it also didn't sound as one-sided as the second half that it did. So, we sound like we're in a game and we could compete, and you're hoping that we might nick it 1-0 because you didn't feel like we would score a hatful of goals. So, that's what I was hoping for. The first half just sounded like two teams had nullified each other, basically.
Yeah. And that was my hope at half time. I thought if we can keep them to limited chances and keep doing what we're doing, stopping them playing, because that's what we did in the first half. We stopped them from playing. They weren't knocking the ball about. We were doing the things I think we said last week on the podcast and on the phone. What we want for Saturday was that exactly. Get the crowd on side. And going back to the thing about fans, I don't think people are saying that in general the fans are the issue. I think that there's been some isolated incidents that have been, commented on, and those things are people say and do certain things, and they maybe open themselves up for critique. But on the whole, I think the travelling support is fantastic. There's no question about that. The home attendance has been consistent. Let's say it's not been as high as it was in the last season or two, but it's been consistent. And we said that as long as they come out of the traps and have a go and compete, that the crowd would get on side, and that's exactly what happened. And so it felt a little bit. There was a bit of optimism in that first half, and come half time, it's like, okay, this is better. This is improved. Now the problem lay with the fact that, in terms of the changes that could be made to impact the game, were few and far between. But as long as it was 0-0 and we were competing, then anything can happen. The problem is that when the two managers got the players in at half time, Dean Brennan, obviously, whatever he said, really, really worked. And our lot, I don't know what happened in the changing rooms, but they came out in the second half and just let them get two really good shots away, two really good goals, but in quick succession. And as soon as the second one went in, that was it. It was literally game over. The fact that it came so quickly after. I mean, you can say the first goal was good feet. I've rewatched it, but there's so many Latics players around him, and not one of them gets a foot in. The second goal, obviously Ogle was the one who miscontrolled it, let him in, but he still had a lot of work to do, didn't he? He turned inside, and it was a good finish, but too easy, too soft the goals, and it's game over. And then when the third went in, I mean, that was a proper exodus. I didn't want it from Boundary Park. I mean, it probably more than half emptied, didn't it? Probably about 2/3 of people left. It made getting away, if you stayed to the final whistle, it made getting away very easy, because people had deserted. There was no faith. And what happened at half time? I think Brennan just said, "Look, you've got to get on the front foot. You've got to get out of whatever gear you're in." And in the first 5 minutes, they were, they took the game to Latics, and we just capitulated, didn't we? And then it was game over. So, you mentioned about tactics. Was the halftime break just the difference? Was it a case of two managers getting their players in and one having a positive effect and one not having a positive effect? I don't know.
I think so. I think that the two managers yesterday are 100% the difference. There's been obviously loads of stuff about Dean Brennan on our hashtag over the past couple of weeks. But you watch his interviews, even from 2 weeks ago, he's coming out saying it's 14 cup finals between now and the end of the season. And then you've got Mickey Mellon coming out saying we need to stick with what's got us here. And then the next week, maybe I need to hold my hands up and change some things. And then he comes out today and does exactly the same thing he's been doing every single week. And half-time, like you said, the difference in those two teams coming out after half-time was so evident. It was unbelievable. We looked like Mickey Mellon had just gone, more of the same, lads, keep going. And they look like they've had a rocket lit under them. And they came out absolutely flying. We're right on the back foot. And as soon as that first goal goes in, you look at our team and all you've got is Pet and Rossiter trying to G the lads up and everyone else's heads are down. Because they know we're finished. They know we've got no answer to that.
Should we have a listen to Sexy Dave? I've got they'll let him in to the. He's not been doing it for a while for a number of different reasons, but they let Dave in to ask the question. So let's listen to the Boundary Park Alert System exclusive questions from Dave. Sexy Dave Bradley today.
A few fans today were disgruntled by the lineup of having one up front against a team like Barnet. Do you think that's a fair comment, or do you think that's unfair?
No, because it was three up front. The two boys that played up front are front players are number 10s, aren't they?
Okay.
So the two of them played up front. The two of them were Lundstrom's a number 10. Pritchard's a number 10. They both played off a front man, so it was supposed to be three supporting Michael Fonda up. So with two midfield players behind him, allowing them to go and get forward and go and run forward and go and express themselves. So no, it wasn't supposed to be one up front. It was supposed to be similar to what Barnet did. I mean, we could all start shouting about one up front, two up front, three. No, we didn't want it. We wanted to try and get good players on the pitch to try and create and score some goals.
In terms of the home form, is that now a concern? Because our away form is fair to say a lot better than our home form. Is it the atmosphere?
No, thought the fans were good today. Anything that they said to me was respectful. Of course, when the stadium goes quiet like that, it was perfectly respectful, and I take all of that on board. All of that, the comments that come my way. I've got no problem as long as it's respectful and that's their opinion and entitled to come and voice that. No problem with that. Not if the crowd were fine. It was us that let the day down. It was us. I don't want to distance myself from the players because I'd never do that. I'm part of them, but we let the situation down today.
The only positive now, obviously, after a difficult day, is that Tom Conlon, the club captain, the club leader, as we say, as well as himself, is he near fitness now? Is he near coming to getting game time? Yeah,
he's getting nearer. I don't want to make excuses. No, I really wouldn't ever do that. I believe everybody that plays for Oldham should go out there and put on a performance for Oldham.
Yeah.
So we're not going to let anybody escape away from that responsibility. Probably we have got a lot of players out at the minute, or have like your Mannies and guys like that, and Ogle just coming back today that we have really missed. And listen, we could go on and on about that. But the players that performed today should have showed more character than what we did. Should have showed more fight for the situation that we're in such a big game, and we just didn't do that today.
I know you alluded to earlier on at the end of the week that you're searching for this striker, and there's 2 or 3 names. Is there going to be potentially that before Boston, do you think?
Well, we're trying. We think we're close, and then it looks too far away, but these have been ongoing for a wee while now. We need we need a bit of a spark from everywhere, really. If you look at it today, we need more. We need more than certainly what we gave today. We're very aware of that. But if I was a player tonight and I was going home, and I'm talking about me here, if I was going home, I would be thoroughly disappointed with the way that I competed or performed in that game today, and know that I could have done much, much better.
Mickey, difficult there, but thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Dave and Mickey there, a very dejected sounding Mickey Mellon. I think that's an interesting point that you raise, Adam, about leadership at this stage of the season. Obviously, Dave said that, and Mickey said that the Captain Conlon's coming back soon, but it's going to take more than that, innit? I think in terms of that kind of inspirational message and getting everybody on board and believing that this is an incredibly important run-in, you're right. The tone of Mickey Mellon's voice there and the results and the performances this year, it's not inspiring anybody, is it? Unfortunately. So, Andy, what do you, as a leader yourself, Andy, you're in your business life, what would you, what's your view on it?
It's difficult to muster the words this morning, and I'm letting you two talk. You've been to the game, I listened to it, and it's, I've listened. It was good to listen to that interview. Obviously, I'd not heard it until then. I listened to Mickey's interview with Alan last night. It's difficult to disagree with anything he says, but then when you listen to them both, I don't feel like he is going to be able to find the answers. That's, I think, is the underlying problem at the minute. Is I don't think he knows what to do with what he's got, and that's the concern, isn't it? Is, if you think about Braintree away now, there's loads of things you can say. Braintree near the bottom of the table, they're not good opposition, and those 2 home games that we won 4-0, who did we beat? Boston and Tamworth. They'd be, again, teams near the bottom that you should be stuffing. But you went through that little run, and by the time we're at Braintree away, we had those 4 players in the side who were all on form and looking like they were going to be difficult for opposition players to play against. And those 4 were Conlon and Clucas in the middle, and Stones and Node up front. And all 4 of them have gone for various reasons out of the team. And we said in January, when people were sort of immediately going into panic about losing those 4 players, let's see what he does. He deserves a bit of time, Mickey and his coaching staff, because I think recruitment in the summer largely was quite successful, in as much as once he got his team going this year, we were comfortably placed in the playoffs. We talked about Tranmere before. We beat Tranmere away. We competed for a good 60 minutes with League One Leyton Orient, and it looked like that he was getting a real tune out of the assets he got. And that was, he was getting lots of plaudits and credit at that point. And since that point in January, it's just imploded, hasn't it? So maybe some of those people who were forecasting Armageddon at that point were right. I think I can recall saying around the turn of the year, you've got to give it a couple of months and see by the end of February what we're looking like. Well, the end of February's come and gone, and we're looking rubbish. And we've looked rubbish for the whole period. And I've said it for the last 2 weeks. Even those 3 away games we won on the spin, we didn't look great in any of them, really. They were very close games that could have gone either way. So that's the problem, is we don't look like putting anybody away, really. If you look at Dagenham and Redbridge on terrible run, we nearly got beat there last week. Boston went and stuffed them 3-1 yesterday at Dagenham. Boston are near the bottom. We play them Tuesday. It doesn't augur well. Maidenhead turned us over at home. I think their last 2 games, they've played York and Forest Green, been dispatched twice. We are miles off at the minute, miles off the 3 in the top 3 positions, and probably Gateshead. And our form is such that if you played Altrincham or Halifax, who are in the playoff positions at the minute, I wouldn't fancy us to come through either of them. So that's the problem, is that we're going to have to find the form. If you glass half full, glass half empty, the form that we had pre-Christmas in the lead up to that period was good. And so if he can find that again with a couple of tweaks, then maybe come the end of the season, it could still end well. We should still be able to finish in the playoffs. He should have enough in the squad not to repeat last season's complete capitulation.
We're the only team, Andy, in the top 9 without a win in the last 5 games.
Last 5. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. I've seen that. Yeah,
So,
You're going on about your 5 green ticks. You haven't got a single green tick.
I know. And that's all I want. There's 5 green ticks.
I think you've got no chance of getting 5 green ticks at the minute. But
I know. I mean, unless maybe at the end of the season, if we do get into the playoffs, let's have those let's just save them till then. Yeah, let's have those green ticks with the last one at Wembley. But I think the thing is, the key things that I heard from you saying there, Andy, is we're miles off. Right, which suggests
at the minute,
we're at the minute, which suggests that if we do bring in one striker, is it going to be enough? That's the question. Is that going to be the catalyst to make everything else work, or is that just going to maybe give us a little bit more? I mean,
well, let's just talk about. I mean, let's talk about the tactics for a minute then, and the way he sets up. Now, he's persisted with the 3-5-2 for much of the last couple of months, which in the run up to Christmas had been working really well, and Ogle had been working well in that back three following Hobson's injury. So he persisted with that sort of structure for a while, but it clearly wasn't working. Once we'd lost those 4 players we mentioned from that setup, it wasn't working as well, and so. What he'd been doing at the start of the season is he played 2 10s, didn't he? He was playing Charsley and Lundstrom behind Mikey at the start. And so he reverted to that yesterday, obviously with Lundstrom and Pritchard as the 2 behind. And it didn't work yesterday. And maybe he's got to give that a go for a bit. So I guess you've got to try and say he's recognising that he's got to tweak it. I mean, the obvious thing that everyone sees is the long ball stuff. And so we do very easily go to a hoofball approach, and that just puts a lot of pressure on Mike Fondop to win everything in both boxes half the time, isn't it? Because he defends as well as he attacks in that respect. But it's a very one-dimensional tactic and becomes rather easy to play against, and that's the thing that we've got to try and get out of the habit of doing. I mean, I don't know if you've seen, there's a tweet from what I assume is Jake Leake's relative, or a social media post from Jake Leake's relative, where he basically says that Mickey Mellon is too one-dimensional and tells his players to go long. And you're like, wow. He's one of the players' brothers is saying, you've got Tom Pett in the side who's good on the ball, and we're just bypassing him. Well, that was a criticism I had when we had Klukas in the team. Is they kept going over his head, and you're like, just give him the ball. He's class. I think the same is true of Pep to a degree, but we just don't use those assets at the minute. And so it would appear it's an instruction for Mickey Mellon. But I think when he's been asked before about long ball, he often answers that he's not telling them to do that. He's telling them to pass through the lines. But I saw another tweet yesterday from a fan, which was when Pritchard came on at Rochdale, his first 2 touches of the ball were through the lines, playing people in. Lovely passes, like on the floor. And I saw someone tweet, he said, glad to see that's been coached out of him in the space of 3 weeks. I mean, you've got to laugh, otherwise you cry. But it is strange that we don't do enough of it. When we our only attempt at that last week at Dagenham was right at the end, when Mikey won a header and Lundstrom played through the lines and we scored. And we just don't do enough of it.
We've yesterday, Adam, you called it Lundstrom's coming off again, and then he put Waters up top alongside Fondop. But then because Lundstrom had come off, that space in behind the 2 strikers was just completely empty. There was nobody there. Lundstrom is one of our best players. He's a nuisance. He harries and harasses defenders and midfielders. He's got a lot of energy, and he's one of the only players you'll get on the ball and turn and drive forward when he's in that position. So for me, taking him off was and not playing for me. What we need to do, I think, with the personnel we've got, let's talk a little bit about formations and what we do. A front three like the one that Mellon suggested in the interview there with Fondop and then 2 number 10s playing off him. I don't think it works. I think it's too easy to become one up front, because once those 2 number 10s don't play you're not really a number 10, are you, when you're in one of each side? We commented in the first half, didn't we, Adam, that Lundstrom was out one side, Pritchard was at the other, and then they had the option to link up then with the wing back, and that at points looked decent because he had options, but it wasn't really causing any threat. So the options are to either have those 2 players out in those 2 channels that linking up with the fullbacks, or to play with 2 strikers up front, Fondop and Waters alongside each other, and then a number 10 in behind. So you've got that bit of a triangle. So in terms of mixing it up with the formation, 4 at the back, which you can pick pretty easily, and then 3 in the middle, 3 midfield, and then 1 in behind and 2 up top. We're not playing with any great width. It's not like our width is our asset, is it? It's not like we're constantly getting the ball wide and getting killer balls in. And if, like last night when we did get forward, on Saturday when we did get forward, people putting in balls for Billy Waters at the back post on his head. I mean, he's just never going to win a header in the box, is he? Unless it bounces up off the ground and doesn't go over his head. That's not the right way to play. Like you said about Andy about at Rochdale when Pritchard was playing balls, he had Waters running ahead of him. He had Fondop running ahead of him. That's what you need. So we've got to sort of alter the way that we play and make more of the assets that are on the pitch. And I'm a bit sick of Josh Lundstrom being the one who keeps coming off. I think we need him on the pitch, but we need to get him on the ball, and we need him linking up with the front 2, and we need some consistency up there, because it isn't working. I mean, that much is clear, and I'm no football genius, not by a long stretch, but it's clear that persisting with the same tactics it's just the definition of madness in this instance, isn't it? How would you set the team up, Adam, now, based on what we've got? Because that's the option. We've only got what we've got. It's not going to be too different between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, I think we saw it the first 2 years in this league, that most teams do set up with a 5 at the back. I know Andy says 3 at the back, but too often and too quickly that back 3 turns into a back 5 because we're on the back foot, and then, because we're playing out longer, we're not building play out through the middle or through the lines. It is a long ball up to Fondop. And on 60 minutes when Waters comes on, yeah, okay, fair enough. I can see Mickey Mellon's thinking behind that. Let's get 2 up top. Let's get a few more bodies up at the top end of that pitch and let's cause them a few more problems. But he brings him on in 60 minutes after Mike Fondop's had an hour-long battle with 3 centre halves. The reason Billy Waters is making those runs is because Mike Fondop can't make those late runs into the box for crosses. So that's why Billy Waters in there. I'm past the point of putting it on players now, because it isn't on Billy Waters. He made a run and he got himself in the box time after time for the very few opportunities that got put into the box yesterday. So it's not on Billy Waters, the fact that he's a foot smaller than he needs to be for the way we play football. But it's not on him. Josh Lundstrom, like you said, he's the only player in that team who consistently takes the ball on the half turn and looks forward.
Yeah.
And if you're putting Waters on, like I didn't understand the logic in taking Lundstrom off, because Waters has a real habit of dropping deep to take the ball on his feet, because that's where he wants it, and he wants to link up play. Now, Josh Lundstrom is the perfect person to play alongside him. If you're dropping deep, you want someone right next to you to play a little 1-2, get a third man runner involved, and you break the lines that way. But we don't break the lines. We move the ball really, really slowly. And you'll see us sometimes try and play out, but that playing out might be keeper to Hobson or Raglan, and then it'll go around the back of the defence, and there's nothing. And as the game goes on, there's less and less movement from Pett and Rossiter in the middle. So they end up just being really playing as two number sixes in effect, just sitting right in front of the defence. So you've got a 5, and then you're asking your wing backs to do all the running, and you'll play a long ball up. You can't expect Caprice to get from a dead ball situation all the way up the right hand side. If we lose the ball, he's then got to track all the way back.
If he does get the ball in, Adam, there's not enough bodies in the box, like you said, because you've got 2 midfielders that don't break beyond and get into the box. Like, you've got to have midfielders. Like Lundstrom will give, like he will give you that. Maybe Pritchard. They've got to be more of that sort of box to box effort in midfield, in getting forward and overloading the Barnet or whoever's penalty area with players, because we just don't do it. A ball will come in, and if the ball that comes in isn't exactly right, then it generally just gets dealt with, and that's it. And there's got to be more evidence week in, week out of what we're practicing on the training ground. It doesn't seem to be that there's a much development and much adaptation with the squad as it is to make it work. And that's what we've been saying for weeks. It's on Mickey Mellon. That's his job. He's the manager. Him and his coaching team have got to get more out of the players that we've got. And you've said you don't have it down to the players. And Mickey Mellon said in his interview with Dave there that he takes responsibility as much as the players, and it's a shared responsibility, and it is, of course, but they've got to figure something out quickly, because we are only heading in one direction at the minute, and that is out of the playoffs. If we don't sort this out, we are sliding now. Our form is shocking. We've got Halifax breathing down our necks. They're only 4 points behind us with a game in hand, and we've got to play them at home in a couple of weeks. We've got to play Rochdale at home. That's going to be tough. We've got to play Southend. We've got to play Yeovil. We've got to play Hartlepool. Hartlepool are having a shocker. Their form's even worse than ours. But these are teams that are below us. And obviously, we've got to go to York and we've got to go to Forest Green. Well, I don't think any of us are relishing those fixtures at the minute. So something as it's, you've always got to worry about yourself. The first thing you say is, let's not worry about what other teams are doing. Let's worry about ourselves. What can we do? Mellon has got to show us that he is in control of this situation and that he knows what he's doing. And I think that thing about leadership comes back to the messaging that we're hearing. The way I think he's honest in his assumptions to a degree, but there's not. It's certainly not inspiring the fan base. Listening to these interviews and stuff at the minute, I don't think we're feeling like confidence in the manager. And then at the moment, and I think then that inevitably leads to people talking about when's a good time to replace the manager. That conversation is starting to creep up, and in my heart, I want to stick with managers and give them a chance to make it work. It just seems like the something that doesn't happen in football enough. And I don't see the value in changing a manager at this stage of the season. I want to have faith in the manager. I want to have faith in the players. I want to have faith in the club. And I believe that the senior management at the club do have faith in Mickey Mellon. But it's hard to hold on to it, like when we are performing so badly in the calendar year of 2025.
Right, so you've got if you haven't got unlimited funds, right? You're running a business. I'm going to put you two in a hot seat, right? You're running a business. You haven't got unlimited funds. You've probably already spent beyond what you budgeted to at the start of the season once, twice, maybe even 3 times already this year, right? So you're in that position. What you've got a choice. You've maybe got some money you can spend. Your choice is you sign a striker with that money, or you remove the manager with that money, because it's going to cost you a lot of money to remove the manager. And then if you remove the manager and employ a new manager, the new manager cannot sign a striker because you've just spent it on getting rid of the old manager. What do you want? A or B? A, striker. B, remove manager. What do you want?
Adam?
Can I not go for option C, Andy?
There
out of those 2 options, I'd go option A, because to me, Mickey, the 3 years we've been in the National League, every year's felt like shit or bust. We've had to. They're so desperate to get out of this league that they've just thrown everything at it, and coming down was the perfect opportunity to reset and build something. And on the playing side, we haven't done that. Off the field, we're doing it, but no one cares about a new little Wembley or the fan bar being better if the football's crap. So, yeah, that's my opinion on it.
What do you do, Matt?
At this stage of the season, I'd get a striker in.
Yeah. Me too. I asked somebody else that question in a private chat, and they said the opposite. But yeah, no, I think it comes back to the club recruited David Unsworth as the, in inverted commas, young, modern, progressive youth coach, and like many teams have gone, like your Williamsons, like Ipswich did with Kieran McKenna, plucked from United's youth set up, and he's taken them on a couple of promotions since. And I guess like Luton did at various stages, they went with that young in inverted commas. I say inverted commas because he wasn't actually that young, but no. they went with that youth coach approach, and it didn't work, and so they've gone with experience instead. And so you can see the thinking that's being applied. I was on board with the first one. And I was on board with the second one, but I think I hanker after the first one. And I say the first one is in the approach, not the individual. Right? Obviously, I don't want David Unsworth back, but I do think I want that. I want to get behind a young coach who can take us on a journey over a 5-year period or a 10-year period or whatever, but a long period of time that you want to get behind and commit. And that doesn't say that couldn't have been or cannot still be Mickey Mellon. But he's demonstrating at the minute a rather inflexible approach, isn't he? He doesn't seem to be as flexible as other coaches are in this particular setup. And so you would have to be, if you're running the business side of it, I'm no football expert like you, Matt. We're just amateurs who watch. But if you're running that business, I guess there's a point in time where you're going to have to stop giving Mickey Mellon money to spend because he's not necessarily spending it wisely. I think. I guess
at that point, Andy, when if you don't feel that the man responsible for your budget is able to deliver results with the budget, that's time to let him go, isn't it?
It is. I think I'm not there yet, but I think you can possibly see it on the horizon now for the first time. For me, I'd have been quite happy to back him all the way through the January sort of transfer window as such. We're not under one, but broadly, because he got enough credit in the bank for me over recruitment in the summer. And it's not like the likes of Pep don't look like good players or Rossiter doesn't look like he can do a job. I'm absolutely bemused and confused by Worthington. I don't understand why we signed Worthington. If you've got those players already in, he doesn't appear to be adding an enormous amount when he's played. Doesn't have obvious attributes other than he's a fit lad who can get them down the pitch. You read some comments from Yeovil about he wasn't getting into their midfield because they had better players there, like Charlie Cooper. You're like, what? So you've got things like that. That confuses me. I think everybody knew what Billy Waters was or is. You can see what he is. He runs around a lot, and he's a bit of a pest, and he'll score you 1 in 5, 1 in 6. I mean, great, but that's not good enough. Every time we sign a youth lad, Yoga Nathan from Barnsley, played 60 minutes and then you never see him again. Same with a litany of youth players that have come through the club, apart from maybe Siddy Peck, possibly. Is that the right one? No, not Siddy Peck. Kai Payne. Kai Payne, possibly the only one that. But you've got other players that come in and out. It's funny, isn't it? And then you look at maybe Mark Shelton yesterday. Obviously, I didn't watch the game, so I don't know. He was just on the winning side. But I mean, how did Mark Shelton look yesterday? One suspects he looked better than he ever did playing for us. And now, with the benefit of hindsight, is that because the way we played? Or under a combination of Unsworth and subsequently Mickey Mellon, was he unable to really find any form because he wasn't in a suitable system for him, and actually put him in a different system, and he looks a much better player. And then it has to be about how you set up and how you coach, doesn't it? And if that's the case, then we've signed players and let them go that have that have actually been perfectly adequate. We just haven't been able to get the best out of them, and that is ultimately down to the coach. So I don't know what I'm really saying. I'm sort of talking around in a circle, really. But I think I would give Mickey Mellon to the end of the season.
And what happens next? So Mickey Mellon and Adam, you can answer this question. So Mickey Mellon keeps us in the playoffs, right? Because obviously, if we fall out of the playoffs, he has to go, right? There's no question about that. The objective this season was get us in the playoffs and have a good go at promotion. We've been absolutely, clear in the playoffs. We've had games in hand. We've had we've still got a big points advantage above Eastleigh. Now we were 8th. We're 9 points clear of them. So any dropping out of the place would be a complete disaster, and I think you'd have to hold the manager accountable for that. So I think pretty much everybody agrees in the fan base agrees that that's what we'd be quite happy to say. Okay, fair enough. Bring a new manager in. But if we finish 7th, for example, and we get into players and we reach Wembley, do we say right, go again? If we reach the playoffs and we get knocked out in the first effort, do we say thanks for trying, find a new coach, or do we say right, we need to build on that next season, give him another budget to spend and go again? What do you think, Adam?
So you say the expectations of playoffs, or the objectives of the playoffs. I think the minimum expectation with the budget Mickey Mellon has is playoffs. Anything less than that is an absolute disgrace. And I had a look back through Mickey Mellon's last few jobs, and Andy, you say you skirted around the issue, you made some really good points there. Mickey Mellon's strategy throughout his whole last 5 jobs is he recruits his way out of a situation. Fleetwood, in 4 years, signed 95 players. Shrewsbury, he was there 2 years, signed 61 players. Tranmere, 4 years, signed 68 players. Dundee, the only place where he fell flat on his face and got sacked, he only signed 7 players. Tranmere, again, on his second spell, he signed 45 players in 2 years. And for us, we're already nearly 40 players in the 18 months he's been here. So he recruits his way out of the division. There is no plan. There's no coaching. The style of football is abysmal. I think minimum expectations the playoffs. The way he's built the whole kind of contracts and all that kind of stuff, it leaves us with 7 players in contracts. Maybe a few of the January signings leave us with a few more, but ultimately it's another overhaul in summer to get where we need to be. So he never acknowledged the capitulation from January to the end of last season. I think the fans probably let him off because it wasn't his players, it's not his recruitment. I felt quite positive at the start of the season. I came on after the first game and said, cancel your hotels to Wembley because we're going straight up. And you know what I mean? I've been proved a fool. Because at the start of the season, the recruitment did look good. And for the first, say, 10, 15 games, we did look pretty solid. We looked like a team that would go up. But we've hit some stumbling blocks, and Mickey Mellon hasn't found the answers through a style of play. He's tried to find answers through recruiting and just recruiting. And the list of central midfielders and strikers that we've had this year is ridiculous. I think we're on 14 or 15 central midfielders with 9 or 10 strikers we've started this year. And nothing's stuck, nothing's worked because we're not recruiting for a style of play. So no matter what even if we get promoted this season, and I think that's a real long shot, I'd say thank you very much at the end of the year, because he's not going to take us anywhere in League Two. He's just going to spend a shitload more of Frank's money, and we really need to go back. Any business that is successful, you have a purpose, you have a business plan, and you work towards that. The why and the purpose of the business is behind every aspect of how you do business. And that isn't evident on the pitch at Oldham Athletic. And it hasn't been evident for 3 years. Like Andy said, I think the idea of Unsworth, of getting a young manager who's who might take us on a journey, I think that's the way to go. But when was the last time we put a manager's job out for application? Shez offered himself. Unsworth was handpicked by Darren Royal. What's he called? The Redfern and the other fellow, the recruitment guy. Yeah, they were just there, so they took the job. Well, Darren Royal was headhunting Mickey Mellon. There's not been a single person that's come to the club and go, this is my picture for Oldham Athletic. Find someone that aligns with the club's picture and let's go from there. And let's get behind that manager and recruit properly. Because this fella's not the answer. I'm sorry. I'm done with him now.
I think that those statistics that you just have in terms of players, I mean, the recruitment from other clubs, I mean, that doesn't bode well, does it? I mean, in the interest of trying to sort of like be balanced, could you say that he's been unlucky this season with injuries and losing the spine of his squad and things like that, or is that just an inevitable part of the game, and you've got to be prepared for that in terms of your recruitment? I mean, it's a key thing, the recruitment. I mean.
Recruitment at a good team, Matt, factors in age, injury record, and liability, and that hasn't been factored in, has it? Signing 30 plus year old midfielders and then go, oh no way, he's injured. Go and buy a 20-year-old Vauxhall Corsa and then wonder why it's broken down.
Well, are you agreeing with what Adam's assessment there, Andy? It makes a good argument based on that point.
I think the course is probably a bit harsh, but I mean,
ask you then, Andy.
Yeah. I mean, we have undoubtedly signed all the players. I have decried in previous weeks the fact that we don't sign young players with resale value. I do think that's an issue. Probably Lundstrom's the only player that you might be able to sell on for a fee in the summer, right? And that's not good. I do agree with Adam in that. I mean, look, at the same time, when everyone was filing out of Brisbane Road, having narrowly been beaten by Leyton Orient a matter of weeks ago, everyone was forecasting that we were going to challenge for the title and potentially win the league. When we stuffed Tranmere away, I put a cheeky bet on us outside bet at 16s to win the league, just in case, because I thought we looked good. We just signed Clucas, and he looked like he was a bit of a Rolls Royce. He wasn't a Corsa; he was more like a Rolls Royce in that midfield. That was the problem. We've just capitulated from there. Now, I think over the course of, if we went through those 40 players he signed, you never get them all right. He's got quite a few right. He's got a few good players right, but. I guess Charsley is injury prone. If you looked at his previous record, and he looked like a good player at the start of the season, but he's not been able to keep fit. Conlon's had some serious injuries in his career, and the same for Norwood. He's 35 injured. Garner 36 injured. Danny Gardner always gets injured, and we gave him another contract in the summer last year. So you kind of can predict that some of these players are going to break down. And you've got to be prepared for that. And when some of them have left the team or the starting 11, we've really missed them. And so, yeah, he's got to take some responsibility for that, and not sort of bleeding in young players with experienced pros throughout the year.
Who was it who was saying about having that we got too big a squad and that we needed to? Did Mellon say that himself, or somebody said? We were talking about it at the start of the season that we had too many players. I mean, obviously. The objective is you either sign a lot of players who are maybe not quite good enough, which seems to be what we've got at the minute, or you sign less players who are good enough. So and improve higher quality, less quantity. Whereas at the minute we seem to have higher quantity and less quality. So it seems that I'm not sure how big Barnet squad, you got the programme yesterday, Adam. They obviously recruited heavily at the beginning of the season, didn't they? They had presumably had quite a bit of an exodus, and they recruited early and they got the players in that they wanted. So that's what you want to see, really, isn't it? It's you want to see at the start of the season that you've got a fairly concentrated but high quality squad that's going to see you through the season. It's going to be, barring unfortunate unforeseens, it isn't going to be injury ravaged, and is going to, he's going to take you through the season playing the game. But if you think about, I know, Andy, I cut you off from reminiscing last week on the podcast. I'm not reminiscing now, but I'm looking back and thinking about the amount of games that those players played over the Bovis seasons. Played 60 odd games with 2 subs, hardly on that plastic pitch. Why are footballers getting injured so much now? Do you know what I mean? When in strength and conditioning and all that kind of stuff and diet and all that, they're not all going out on Tuesday afternoon getting hammered. Maybe they need to start going out on Tuesday afternoon and getting hammered. I don't know, but it seems like, when you contrast and compare now to those days and the amount of players you needed to use compared to how many players we're getting through now, it's ridiculous.
Well, no, I think if you've I don't know if you've ever watched an old game fully through. Like, I've got a few of the old games that I watched the FA Cup semi-final once, the full 120 minutes, put a whole game on and watched it. Blood and Thunder game, really exciting, like loads more exciting than modern game to watch, I think. But actually, technically, not really brilliant from either side. And that, I think, is possibly the difference is today's modern footballer, they probably cover more kilometres per game. They probably run harder. They probably, put their bodies through a lot more. Whereas the older style of football, possibly they didn't run as much. They just, put the ball in the box and play for knockdowns and what have you. So that's possibly the reason is the modern game.
You just described our team, though, didn't you? There, put the ball in the box.
I know. Sadly,
Hoof it forward. So I don't know. I think, look, ultimately, the responsibility. This is how it goes, isn't it? It's not the club, the board have the responsibility for recruiting the manager. The manager is responsible then for recruiting his team and his players. And if we consistently keep getting the wrong managers in, then that's on the board. The thing is we're 3 seasons into the new ownership, and we're on our 3rd permanent manager, because when Shez came in, he was, initially he was, on a permanent deal. Then Unsworth was on a permanent deal. Then now Mickey Mellon. So it's just a question of how quickly and how often we change. I mean, it does happen that if you keep managers in the job and give them, and you back them, that they get results and they build a team that is, the team that they want. The argument now is, do we stick and give him the chance to do the same again next season and build and put a better team together? Or do we go for somebody else? But we can't keep doing it every season. We can't keep chopping and changing every season. It's just, it doesn't work. So at some point, somebody's got to get the job, and we've got to back them for a few seasons and give them the resources. But like you said, Adam, there has to be a bit more of a plan and a way of playing, and a sort of looking a bit further than just here and now.
Identity.
Yeah, and an identity. But then again, that brings into the question of things like directors of football, somebody consistent within the club, and then bringing in coaches. Because like when you start talking about these young up and coming coaches, there's no guarantee they're going to stick around, because as soon as they have a good season or two, there's one of the bigger clubs comes knocking and sniffing around. They're gone, aren't they? So it's hard. I think that's the thing. I think we have to accept that as much as we want to see changes and we want to see success, we have to accept that it's not easy for everybody involved. I'm trying to give a bit of balance. I don't know. I mean, Barnet are making it look pretty easy this season. But
I'll tell you what else is not easy. Latics mine's not easy, is it?
Adam, how did you get on in the past?
1, 1 and 0. So yeah, flying. Got similar points per game record to Mickey Mellon.
Right. Well, in that case, good luck. Are you ready, Andy?
Yeah.
Here we go. Let's play Latics Mind. Latics Mind.
Latics spent 3 seasons in the top flight in the early 90s. What was their highest finish?
14th.
It was 17th out of 22 teams. Which French midfielder did Latics sign on loan from Burnley in 2005?
Pass.
What was Andy Ritchie's biggest win as manager of Latics?
5-1.
Correct. Who scored Latics' 4th goal versus Tamworth at home this season?
Norwood.
It was Josh Kay. Who had 2 spells as Latics manager in the 1960s?
Pass.
Which centre-back did Latics sign from Nottingham Forest in October 1998?
Pass.
Which Filipino midfielder made a handful of appearances for Latics in the 2016-17 season?
Pass.
Who scored Latics winner at Wolves in December 1996?
Sean McCarthy.
It was Ian Ormondroyd. Which former Northampton, Derby and Sheffield Wednesday midfielder did Latics sign in the summer of 2018?
Pass.
Who was made Latics captain after Earl Barrett departed to Aston Villa in January 1992?
Mike Milligan.
Correct. I've started, so I'll finish. Which striker who had scored against us for Leeds earlier in the season did Latics sign on loan in March 2008?
Oh. Darren Byfield.
It was Leon Constantine. Right. How many passes you got? How many did you get right first? Did you get 2 or 3?
2, I think.
2. All right. Yeah, 2. Passes. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 passes, maybe. Let's go.
I got 2. I've got 2 so far, but I can't see it becoming any more than 2.
I mean, this first one is absolutely. I've never heard of the guy. Which French midfielder did Latics sign on loan from Burnley in 2005?
I've no idea.
He was called Amadou Sonoko. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
Because I don't.
No.
That's incredible, that, isn't it? Who had 2 spells as Latics manager in the 60s? Could have a guess at that, surely.
I don't know.
Jack Rowley.
Jack Rowley, right? Okay. Yeah.
Which centre back did Latics sign from Nottingham Forest in October 1998?
Don't know.
Stuart Tom. Which Filipino midfielder made a handful of appearances for Latics in 2016-17?
I don't know.
Luke Woodland. Remember him?
such a Filipino sounding name.
I know. Well, that's why that was what was memorable about him. Is he was Filipino and had the name Luke Woodland. Which former Northampton, Derby and Sheffield Wednesday midfielder did Latics sign in the summer of 2018? Giles Coke.
Oh yeah, he was a good signing, weren't he? He played a load of games.
There you go. 2.
Take that.
You at home. Well, we managed to get through an hour, lads, which I think is very commendable based on yesterday. I think there's a lot of uncertainty around where we're at the minute. There's a lot of uncertainty around what's going to come next. Can we stay in the playoffs? What happens this season? What happens next season? I think it's all legitimate now. Legitimate questions. We've just got to hope that we can. I mean, for the feeling that I get from people at the club is that they're hoping that signings and not sign some of the players that did well for us and helped get us into the top 5 are going to be coming back towards the end of the season, and that we can hopefully finish the season much more positively than we've been playing in recent weeks, recent months at this stage. I guess we just all have to just try and get behind it as best we can and hope that this season isn't a complete disaster. That's not very inspiring, is it? It's not a very inspiring message, but that's kind of where we're that's kind of where we're at in it, really, I think.
You should give the halftime team talks, Matt.
I know.
What Mellon's coming out with it,
but that's the thing. I think the question of leadership now is a really important one. I think, Mickey Mellon is the leader at the club in terms of the players and the personnel, and he's the man that's got to try and get us all up for it. So yeah, it's not up to this podcast.
We're 5th in the table. Like you say, we're 9 points clear of 8th. We were playing well in the lead up to Christmas and looking like we could compete at the top end of this league. It doesn't take much to change things and the fortunes of your club. Just a couple of little tweaks, maybe one player hitting a bit of form. That's all that's required. And so it could turn just as easy as it's turned bad and sour at the moment. And that's what we've got to sort of hope for. And so I'm quite happy to back Mickey Mellon to the end of the season and see what he can get out of this team. He's done it before multiple times. He's had 3-4 promotions or whatever he's had. He knows how to get to. Yeah, maybe he's had that many. I don't know, but he's had success. So let's get behind him and see where he can take us.
That was a bit more uplifting, Andy. That was a good bit. But we've got to play now. We've got to play Boston on Tuesday, who are 23rd, second bottom. Tamworth are actually having a pretty respectable season for their first season. They're 13th. So was it you who said, Adam, that they'd only lost once at home? Someone told me that Tamworth had only lost one.
That was me.
I'm not sure. They've got an artificial pitch, haven't they? So, and they've got the big thrower, what's he called? Tonk or something. So that's yeah. So look, 2 games against newly promoted teams in a week. We've got to start picking up points from somewhere. 6 points on the road. Everyone feeling a bit better come Derby Day against Rochdale? Yeah?
Yeah, well, you would, wouldn't you?
Adam's just shaking his head.
No, I wouldn't.
No. All right. Well, let's leave the podcast on that bum note.
Hey Dave, did you know that listeners can now buy us a coffee or any other kind of hot beverage?
Ooh.
What's your favourite hot beverage, Dave?
A macchiato.
And how do you like your macchiato?
Black with lots of milk. Oh.
No cream?
No.
Well, if you want to buy Dave a
macchiato,
then go to buymeacoffee.com/We Are Oldham. I'll just have a Nescafe.
Oh. Thank you, listeners.